So you're thinking about moving to San Diego and maybe Carlsbad is on the list. Well, unfortunately, not everything about Carlsbad is great. So we're gonna get into some cons of Carlsbad, but also we're gonna hop into some pros and let you know some things that might make you wanna move tomorrow. So let's get into the pros and cons of Carlsbad right now.
The first con of Carlsbad is that it is kind of boring. It's comfortable, but it's boring. So what we mean by that is there's not a ton of nightlife. There's kind of a sleepy city. Even though Carlsbad's a big area, there's not a ton to do after what, 8 o'clock?
I would say 8. Yeah. I'm going to bed by 9 o'clock. So.
That's right. So if you're thinking of like downtown San Diego, where you've got a lot of nightlife and everything, as you come up into the suburbs here in Carlsbad and kind of the rest of North County San Diego, you lose a lot of that, and a lot of these downtown little village areas close up shop pretty early. So if you're looking for nightlife, if you're looking for a lot of things to do in evenings, yes, you have a ton of restaurants and all that, but as soon as dinner's over, there's not much to do after.
The second con of Carlsbad, you're like, I'm gonna say it, you're like, get out of here, man. But is warm days and cool nights. That's what a lot of people move out here for, the weather, and they think it's gonna be 75 and sunny the whole time, 75 overnight. Unfortunately, that's not the case, especially with me. I'm usually rocking what this guy's rocking. I usually got a sweatshirt on at all times. Even today, it's, I don't know, beautiful, 75, breezy. That's why we're filming in here. We were trying to film outside for you guys, show you Carlsbad, but we're gonna drop in drone footage and show you everything we're talking about. But it's windy, it's warm. We're in the end of January right now, so it's kind of an off day. But during the summer times, you're gonna get these warm, beautiful days, coastal, inland, all parts of Carlsbad. During the night, they're averaging 62 degrees during those warmer times, during kind of those summer months. During the winter months, Decembers, Januaries, during night times, it does get cold. It gets like 40 degrees. So you might wake up a few mornings and you might find a little frost on your window. It's kind of rare, but still chilly mornings. Like sometimes I'm walking my boys to school. I'm in Encinitas, but still coastal. And you're gonna get like, I'm gonna throw on a beanie. I'm gonna throw on some warm coat. I might throw on my Patagonia, just warm up, you know? Because that's what happens. You get cold? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wear a hoodie for like a month and a half, and I love it.
Yeah.
But you don't get it a ton here, and a lot of people are watching this laughing at us thinking 40 is cold, especially if you're on the East Coast right now where we know that it's really, really cold, or Texas is really cold right now.
Or Florida. It snowed in Florida.
Yeah.
It doesn't snow here.
We're definitely wusses when it comes to cold. Chris's might be the biggest wuss of the group, but it does, those chilly nights, I kind of like them. I mean, we're still sleeping with our windows open and it's getting down in the 40s, so I like it, but a lot of people just don't think about that when they think San Diego.
And those are like great nights too. Like my sister's up in Oceanside, so another coastal city, but Carlsbad adjacent, same weather there. They have a nice fire pit out back, so kick that thing on, nice glass of wine, go out there, hang by the fire pit on those colder nights, or those cooler nights, if you will, and just hang out with the family. It's awesome. And real quick, back to the snow. My grandparents had a picture when they were living in Vista. The last time it snowed in San Diego was like 1968 or something. So we're good there, but might be a little chilly. And also the ocean is chilly. That's, I think, a bigger con is, especially if you're getting the ocean, you're going to the beach. Even during summer times, like the peak, you're gonna, like August, September, the average water temp's like 68 degrees. Sometimes there's some beautiful days. You get some like, you know, warmer weather coming up. You get some upswelling or whatever it might be. I guess that would probably make it colder. But you get some nice ocean warm currents coming in and it gets like 75. And that is like, you go in there, your trunks, you know, you go out surfing. It's beautiful. And during the winter time, so like January, it's averaging like 58 degrees. So it doesn't get too much warmer in the summer times than it does in the winter times. But that's also some of the best days to go to the beach during the winter times when it's, you know, beautiful out like today. If you go out there, it's gonna be gorgeous out there. Nice warm day in the middle of January.
Con number 3, big one right now, is fire risk. So here in San Diego, we get Santa Ana winds. And this is the time, we have them actually right now in January, which is a little bit odd. Tends to be kind of August, September, October is when we have the most Santa Ana winds, but we have them here in January.
What are the Santa Anas?
Santa Anas are when the winds are not blowing from the coast. So they're going from the mountains and desert towards the ocean, as opposed from the ocean towards the mountains and desert. So,
and they're hot, they're dry. Yeah. My skin's all dry right now. Like, yeah, you're gonna be dry during those times.
So yes, our skin is dry, but also the big thing is there's no moisture anywhere. So all the plants and all the trees and everything is dry right now. So if there's any kind of a spark, and we saw it over the past week, there were a couple little spot fires here and there in San Diego, where you just have to be aware that that is a thing. And Carlsbad is over 40% open space. So there are some places that you could have fires in Carlsbad. We've gotten this question a couple times already since the fires in LA a few weeks ago. San Diego's done a really good job of getting themselves in a good spot for fires. We've seen a lot of electrical shutoffs. So SDG&E is our power and electric company, our gas and electric company here in San Diego. And they shut off a whole ton of grids in Ramona, kind of the mountains of San Diego County, just to not have any risk of fire starting that way. So that is one thing that they've done a good job of kind of just getting ahead of. And then the fires that we did see this past week, quickly out. There's one in Mission Valley, there was one in Rancho Bernardo, one up in Fallbrook, and these fires got put out pretty quickly.
And a lot of people who are reaching out are like, can we get insurance? How much is it going to be? And that's why it's super important, if you are thinking about moving out here, to reach out to us and start that conversation. We can connect you with our insurance broker and have those conversations. And more importantly, dive into some neighborhoods with you and figure out what areas, if you don't want to be in a high fire zone, if you want to be in specific areas that might be a little bit less, we can dive into the maps and help you figure that out. So it's super important, if you are thinking about moving out here, hit us up, call, text, email, because we got your back when making the move here to San Diego. The next con for Carlsbad is it is all the burbs. It's suburbs from north, south, east, and west. So if you're not looking for that, if you're looking for a little bit of character, you're going to want to go elsewhere. Now, one of the pros might be tie into this one a little bit, but we'll get into that in here shortly. But it's all the same. It's like starting with like in La Costa areas, we have older tract neighborhoods, to the newer La Costa areas, we have newer tract neighborhoods. Aviara, you have tract. Calavera Hills, you have tract. Even some of the areas that maybe don't have like these brand names, if you will, in certain areas of Carlsbad are older tract neighborhoods that have been here since, you know, the 60s and stuff. Now, some of those neighborhoods have had some turnover. Then you have a little bit of custom in there. You do have a little bit of character in certain parts. But for the most part, if you're moving to Carlsbad, you're moving to the burbs.
So with all these suburbs, there comes HOAs, and that is a con for a lot of people. We have a lot of folks that reach out that don't want an HOA, so Carlsbad is not the best place to look. There are a couple of neighborhoods here and there that don't have HOAs, but the majority definitely do. Why is an HOA a con? It's just stricter rules. So like they can control landscaping, architectural things. So like if you want to paint or do anything like that, you have to get a permission. If you want to do remodels, you have to get permission. So HOAs, the positive is that they keep the cohesiveness of the community, but the negative is that they keep the cohesiveness of the community and make things complicated if you're trying to do anything different. And here in Carlsbad, if you're looking at condos or townhomes, you're looking at about 350 to 450 on average for those HOAs. And then for detached housing communities, you're looking kind of in that 100, 150 on average. Depends what amenities come with it. So some of the HOAs have tennis courts and pools and playgrounds and huge parks and stuff like that. Those are going to tend to be a little bit more expensive.
La Costa Valley.
Yeah, La Costa Valley is a big one. They have a huge club that's rad. But if it's just common area landscape, common area maintenance, those tend to be a little bit more affordable.
Next con, we're getting into a little bit of a noise issues. We'll call them issues with Carlsbad. One of them, when we were going to film this scene, we were going to go directly next to this place and go under it and let you hear what it was all about. But we're not gonna, because it's too windy. You wouldn't be able to hear it anyways. But there's a airport. It's not a huge airport, but there is an airport where the flight path is directly through Carlsbad. So a lot of different areas you're living. If you are near Palomar Airport and you are on the west side, you're near the takeoff zone for the most part. On the east side, that's where they're coming in landing. There's no, except for recently, there's commercial flights that did get approved right there. But a lot of these planes, you're not, like if you're flying into San Diego, you're flying in on the normal big jets on whatever airline, Deltas and stuff. It's not going to be those flights. It's more smaller planes. I forget the exact size. I think it was like 30 or 70, people per plane, something like that. So it's not huge, but it is kind of an annoyance, especially like, we've been showing houses out in Bresci Ranch and, you could hear that there for sure. Another noise is there's a lot of main roads in Carlsbad. So you have, just like El Camino Reals. You obviously have the freeway. You have a lot of east to west, Palomar Airport, Poinsettia. You have a lot of kind of these main thoroughfares. And a lot of times they're busy during the day, especially rush hours. You're going to get a ton of traffic going through there. We were showing a house, I think it was off even Alga, which isn't like a crazy big main thoroughfare, but it's up a hill a little bit. So that road noise was kind of pushing into the house. So certain houses that are on those road noise, but just thinking long term, they are going to take a little hit on value compared to homes that aren't on these main roads. So just like long term and for resale and stuff, it's kind of important to keep that in mind. Even if you like love the house, just kind of give it a second thought, be quiet, maybe visit at different times during the day to make sure that it's not too loud. Especially like, yeah, some of these main roads are crazy loud. Like there's some apartments, what are the Monarch and stuff?
Yeah, so there's, and obviously, and Chris, I don't even know if you mentioned the 5 freeway. That is another one where it's extremely loud. But yeah, El Camino Real, there's sections, the Monarch community of condos, it's like they're driving through your living room. It is super loud. It's an older community, so the insulation's not as good and the windows aren't as good. So there's just a lot of these things. And this is how we can help you too. So if we jump on a Zoom and there's a condo that you think looks great, we can kind of give you some insight into maybe why it's priced the way it is, why it looks a little bit more affordable than a lot of other properties. And a lot of that comes down to noise.
And back to the 5, they just recently expanded the 5, added some carpool lanes going through Carlsbad. And so on literally one of the sides of the road, they pushed the freeway almost directly next to this big, community back there. So it's like a wall and I don't know, maybe a 5-foot space to a house. So it's pretty tight in there. Different areas are going to be different. Like Cassie said, some are going to look more affordable, but it's because you are on these main roads. Another thing is the train goes right through Carlsbad as well. So there's a train station in the northern area of Carlsbad. And it goes through different times of day, different times of night. Sometimes you hear the big freighter coming through. You'll hear the horn even like a few miles inland. That's really not as much of a nuisance as if you're living, in these condos downtown Carlsbad, where they're like right on the train tracks or up and down kind of certain areas of the coastal zones, because that's where it runs. So you're going to hear it multiple times a day. A lot of them are just the commuter trains going north and south, but sometimes you will get big freightliners going through there as well.
So next up is that Carlsbad is just more touristy than a lot of North County. So there's a lot of hotels. There's a lot of things to do. So you got Legoland. So a lot of people travel here just for Legoland. There's huge stretches of long, nice white sand beaches to walk along to get in the water. So there's a lot of timeshares, hotels, infrastructure for that tourism. The village is a huge attractor of a lot of that too. So like there's just a lot of reasons that people travel here for vacations. You don't get that as much in some of the other coastal towns like Encinitas, Oceanside. It gets a little bit, and maybe even more in the future.
It'll start for sure, yeah, as they're building these giant hotels over there.
Yeah. But Carlsbad just has been for a long time one of the main focuses that people, if they're coming out here, they're either staying in downtown, they're staying somewhere down there near SeaWorld or Mission Bay, or they're staying in Carlsbad.
Yeah, and I would say out of all the coastal cities in North County, San Diego, going from Del Mar through Oceanside, Carlsbad's going to be the most touristy spot. So more people on the beaches, more people on the roads, more people at the restaurants throughout a lot of the year.
Let's get into some of the positive things, some of the pros of why people live here in Carlsbad. And a lot of that starts with that is a very well-run city. And what we mean by that is it has been very pro-development for a very long time and will continue to be. And that is why you see a lot of these master plan communities, the Calaveria Hills, the Bresci Ranch, all the La Costas. They are building housing for the people here in Carlsbad. And so you definitely get a lot of that, even for remodels and for new construction still, just individual construction. Carlsbad is just a very easy city to work with.
When we were growing up here, I was in San Marcos on the other side of Carlsbad. This guy was in Encinitas, just south of Carlsbad. A lot of those areas were nothing. Especially the whole La Costa area, even La Costa Canyon, which is a high school over there, there's nothing over there. Like until 2000, that was, late 90s, early 2000, that's when they started building all that out. So a lot of the infrastructure besides the kind of downtown area, the old Carlsbad, that's what it's called, does OLDE, just like Encinitas?
It's Ye Old.
Ye Old Carlsbad. So it's just like, that was like the OG part of Carlsbad. So some of that infrastructure is a little older. They've been building a lot down there, a lot of brand new condos. If you want that condo living, downtown Carlsbad, walkable to the few of the main drags, State Street, Carlsbad Village, Grand, that kind of stuff. Then there's a lot more options that are being built down that way. Next up, kind of going hand in hand with being a well-run city, is it is a business-friendly city compared to a lot of other cities around here. So there's like a central hub around that Palomar Airport area that we did talk about. You're going to find some bigger companies actually in Carlsbad. Viasat's going to be one of the biggest ones. They have a huge campus right off Palmer Airport Road and El Camino Real. It's humongous. And they're the biggest employer in all of Carlsbad. So we've actually had people reaching out through this channel from Biostat. So if you're moving here, you're going to work there, Carlsbad might be the area. If not, there's some other areas that might work for you too that aren't too far of a commute. But you're also going to find some biotech. You're going to find some golf brands, TaylorMade, Callaway, some of that stuff's right up there. But there's a big area with a ton of warehouses and big old commercial district. So that's kind of like in the central area of Carlsbad. Also, once you get a little more coastal, you'll find another one too. So it is a business-friendly area. It used to be kind of people were commuted in. Now, as it's been built up around there, a lot of people just live there and get to commute to their job there.
We've mentioned it a couple times now, but one of the big pros is Carlsbad Village. So Carlsbad Village is a little bit on the older side, but definitely kind of turning over. Chris mentioned brand new condos. There's a lot going on down there, but there's a lot of new restaurants. There's a lot of new bars. There's a lot of new shops. There's a lot of really cool things happening in downtown Carlsbad, in the village of Carlsbad.
And right down in the central area of Carlsbad, right off Carlsbad Village, is one of the OG breweries right here in Carlsbad. Not their original spot, but Pizza Port, great pizza spot, great for family. Go out there after sports, awesome spot. But there's also one of your favorite spots down there.
Yeah, Norte used to be called Fidel's.
Yeah.
There still is a Fidel's in Solana Beach, but Norte is a great Mexican restaurant right along the Coast Highway. It is a quick, our family, when we go there, it's a quick little walk down to the beach too, to take a little beach walk after a nice Mexican restaurant dinner.
And we don't want to get into Fidel's versus Tony's in Solana Beach. That's for a different video. We'll cover that in another one. But there's a bunch of restaurants that are solid down there. You have Jeunette Jolie. You have another beer spot down there. You have, what's the ice cream spot down there called? Cali Creamin'?
Yep.
Cali Creamin's down there. Awesome spot to grab some.
No, it's the other one.
What is it? It's not Cali Creamin'. Let's
It's
figure it out. Handles.
Handles.
Handles ice cream. Yeah. There's
Pure Project is the beer spot you
Pure
mentioned.
Project. See, he's helping me with all the names here. There's a bunch of other new stuff. There's like a little area where there's a new beer spot, new taco spot down there. Can't think of that name either. But that's all right down State Street. Awesome spot just to cruise around and go check out. Grab some grub, grab some beer, and hang out. And right in that coastal area of Carlsbad Village, you're going to find like this old kind of English Tudor style looking building. It's always going to be busy. There's going to be people bringing big jugs of water up. And you're like, what's going on down there? It's the Carlsbad Alkaline Water refill area. So a lot of people around here, they go there. I think they deliver now too. And you can find it in stores. So I don't know why people go there so much. But you go down there, it might be cheaper. And fill up your jugs. There's like a natural well that's been here since like the 1800s, underground. People are filling up their water. They love the taste. A lot of people just have it on their counter in their house. And it's just a big attraction that locals go to all the time. And once people get into it, like that's their go-to. That's their water. They're not going down. They're not getting the Sparklets or Arrowhead delivered to their house. They're going Carlsbad Alkaline Water, local water right here in Carlsbad. And talk about water that's been changed a little bit. And back to Pizza Port, one of the best breweries. This is a pro on its own. Carlsbad has a few breweries. We mentioned Pizza Port, but probably the best brewery run by locals, started by Carlsbad locals right here in San Diego, is Bergen. And you like Bergen?
I love Bergen.
It's an awesome spot. The dudes who started it went to La Costa Canyon, which is the high school right in Carlsbad, in like the La Costa area of Carlsbad, you'd assume. But anyways, they started this brewery a few years ago. Fantastic beer. It's a really cool tap room over there. We might have a client event there sometime in the future. We've been talking about it over the past few years. So that is a must-see. It's in 92011 zip code of Carlsbad, so it's kind of in that little commercial area that we are just talking about. But big open. They always have, when I went there actually last time, they had a barbecue place there. We weren't too hungry, so we just got some bacon, kind of crushed that a little bit. But anyways, if you're out here, you're exploring, you need to stop, grab a drink, go hit up Bergen.
One huge pro is there are a ton of different communities to choose from. So we've had clients reach out, very specific. I want to live in this community. They get out here, they check it out, they like it, but they don't love it. There's a lot more to choose from. So if you're looking Carlsbad specific, and maybe you like Bressie Ranch, but it's not the perfect fit, maybe the price point's just a little high, there's a ton of other neighborhoods that will work for you and that have different things to offer. One of the things too is within some of these communities, you'll find spots where there's a big group of townhomes. So like off Poinsettia, there's a lot of different condo, townhome options where some of these other neighborhoods just don't have as much of that. So there's little pockets here and there where you have a lot of detached houses, but then you have just a couple of condos. And there's some areas where you have a ton of townhome and condo options. So it really just gives you a lot to choose from, whether you're looking for a detached single family house or a condo. You're going to have a ton of options.
And Carlsbad separated into 4 different zip codes. So starting in that Carlsbad Village area, you have 92008. That's where you're going to find downtown Carlsbad. We've mentioned a bunch of times. That's where you're going to find in that area a lot of the walkable condos. As you get a little bit further out into Old Carlsbad, you're going to find a lot of older single family kind of cottage style homes. One of the cool things about that area too, you might have a smaller house, but the lots are going to be a little bit bigger compared to new construction for sure. As you go to the east, the next zip code northeast is going to be 92010. That's where you're going to find Calavera Hills as a big chunk of that, with a bunch of outside area hiking, all that. We'll get into that in a sec. Then you'll also find an older area of single family homes. Calavera's like the newer area. You're going to find a little bit older. You'll also find Robertson Ranch, and then some brand new construction right there off of El Camino Real as well. It's like a brand new community that's been popping up over this past year or so. Next, down to the south, 92009 southeast. That's where you're going to find all the La Costas that we've mentioned. You're going to find La Costa Valley, La Costa Ridge, La Costa Oaks north and south, La Costa Greens. So if you guys want to check out all the La Costas, go check out that video, because I think there was like 17 different areas with the name La Costa in it. And then that's like suburbs. That's like, especially like La Costa Oaks, where you're going to find a bigger footprint homes, like a little bit newer homes, and you're going to find some nice square footage up there, decent sized yards, even for new-ish construction. So a lot of people do like that area. It's a little bit more pricey, but you have a nice little town center in there. As you go to the southwest, that's like Aviara plus a few other communities. And it's a little more like resort style feeling. You have the golf course down there. So there's just a ton of different areas throughout different zip codes, throughout different areas right there in Carlsbad. Getting a little bit into the safety of Carlsbad. Carlsbad has recently, over these past few years, put in a big surveillance system throughout a lot of the lights, license plates readers and such, throughout a lot of the lights in Carlsbad. So what it does, if they're searching for a specific car, they're searching for a specific person, it helps them identify that a lot quicker as they're going through different intersections. It's reading these license plates and it'll alert them. So they've definitely caught a lot of people through that system who were potentially stealing a car, maybe not even from Carlsbad, but driving through Carlsbad at that moment. So it just adds that extra little layer of safety. It's kind of one of the only cities I can think of right around here that has that system set up, where they're trying to be a little more proactive on that front.
This is the pro that we mentioned earlier that kind of ties into the fires. All that open space, almost 40% of open space in Carlsbad. It is a negative for that reason, but it's a huge positive for how much hiking, how much outdoor activity that we have here in Carlsbad. There are a bunch of hiking areas. Calavera is one of the cool ones that we've shown on a bunch of videos. Up this old crater that's extinct with a big lake. You have Bataquitos, which is a really cool hike along the lagoon there. You have Agua Hediondo. Did I say it right?
Yep, you did. I think you nailed it. Can't hike there, but they do have, it's one of the few lagoons right here in the coastal areas where they actually use it. So you could rent paddle boards, you could rent little jet skis. I've done the paddle boards, which are pretty fun. I wouldn't rent a jet ski, but you can go out there, bring your own boat, wakeboard. There's a little beach you can actually set up on. It's like a little hidden beach. Hit us up if you want to find that. But it's one of the only usable actual lagoons right here in San Diego. And then up in La Costa as well, you're going to find a few more trails. La Costa Preserve, there's another one kind of going down this little canyon. You're going to find a bunch of these smaller trails connecting. Some of these trails also connect to other trail systems, which is pretty awesome. So you can connect to San Marcos trails. If you go far enough, you can connect out to like the Livin and Encinitas trails. So there's just a lot of trails, and they're not like, if you're moving from somewhere that has like woods and, I'll kind of get lost in the woods, a lot of these outdoor hiking where you're going like miles and miles, it's not really like that. I call it suburban hiking. You're off these neighborhoods. A lot of the trailheads are right within these neighborhoods, which is pretty awesome. So you go out your front door and be on a trail within like 5-10 minutes. Pretty cool. The Calavera one, I brought my boys there. Maybe it was probably like a few months back. We hiked up the top, super easy. But from there, I've hit a lot of other trails going through that area. And I've been there a few times, and I keep finding these cool new little trail areas. So you could find them as you're living up there. You're going to find like little ones you want. There's also areas where you can go mountain biking in there. And so while most of these are just smaller trails, if you do want some of the bigger trails where you do go miles, kind of get lost in the woods, east, as you go further east into San Diego, you're going to find mountains, and you're going to find a ton of trails out that way.
And also on top of just trails, you also have the great parks of Carlsbad. So Carlsbad has some of the best parks in, I'd say, San Diego, not even just North County. Carlsbad has Alga Norte, which is an incredible park, which has a swimming pool, skate ramp, or skate park, has ball fields. It is one of the best playgrounds that my kids love. So that's a great one. You've also got Stagecoach Park. You've got Calavera Hills Community Park. You have Poinsettia Community Park. All of these are huge parks with a whole ton of different amenities. They each have kind of their own feel. Poinsettia is really well known for its tennis courts and pickleball courts, but all of them have a lot of different amenities. And that kind of ties into one of our other pros, which is what we have in the terms of sports here in Carlsbad. There are a ton of options. Specifically, we're a big baseball family, so there are a couple of huge baseball organizations within Carlsbad, and that is LCYO, which is what our family is a part of. We have the CYB, which is Carlsbad Youth Baseball, which is kind of the north side of Carlsbad.
He's more than part of LCYO, by the way. This is Mr. LCYO right here. If you guys are playing in LCYO, you will run into this guy.
You will see me there, yes, for sure. And then you also, the communities kind of to the south of Carlsbad in that 92009 zip code also feed into some of the Encinitas Little League and Encinitas National League. So if you're looking for Little League as opposed to Pony, there are some options there. But also soccer. Soccer is huge in Carlsbad, and there is one major player in that Carlsbad soccer arena, and that is definitely City SC. It's a huge organization, a ton of teams in Carlsbad, and they have access to a ton of fields, which is the reason that they are so successful. On top of baseball and soccer, there's lacrosse. There's Alga Norte has swim team, so if you have family or anybody that's into swimming, you've got that facility there. What other sports have we got? We've got football. FNL is huge in Carlsbad.
The high school has a surf team, which is kind of rare. That's kind of something unique for right here in San Diego. So yeah, you just find a ton.
You just have access, and it's year round. So a lot of folks that are coming from maybe the East Coast, baseball or soccer or whatever the sport may be, doesn't start till May. So we're getting kicked off for baseball in about a week, which is February 1st, which is pretty amazing to be able to start sports that early in the year.
Another thing about Carlsbad is the community, the events, what's going on just within the city. So there's a lot of stuff that the city puts on. There's a lot of stuff that other organizers put on. There's other events that have been in the past. There's probably new events that will come up in the future. What just happened is the Carlsbad half marathon and full marathon. So that happens in January, I guess. I didn't know that, but yeah, January, it just happened recently. A lot of folks doing that. They also have every week down in that heart, down the village area of Carlsbad, they have the farmers market. A few times a year, they have Flicks at the Fountain down there as well. There's also a Carlsbad Village Fair a few times a year. There's also one thing that the city of Carlsbad, back to the parks that they put on, is TGIF concerts in the park. So they hop around to different parks a few times throughout the summer where they put on free concerts, and those are pretty awesome. I've been to a handful of those over at Stagecoach Park, and they set up. I've been to an 80s band. What have you been to? Reggae.
Yep.
Yeah, they always have some good bands out there. It's fun times. Bring the kids out. You can bring your own food. You can bring your own beverage. You post up. The one I went to was like on the baseball field, so we were like up against the fence, and everybody was having a good time. So, anyways, they'll have that at kind of probably, I think maybe all the main parks.
Yeah,
Calavera,
they go from each
Stagecoach, Alga, Poinsettia. Do they do Aviara? Maybe Aviara. Maybe not.
Maybe not, yeah.
Check that. But anyways, they have that throughout the year too. So also you're going to find other events within your own neighborhood. Some of the best Christmas light displays are in Carlsbad as well. You'll find that. One was my favorite. And unfortunately now he went to the Moonlight Amphitheater this year. So he was on display over in Vista. And so there's a ton of community events, a ton of community things going on. Even specific HOAs are going to have some. I think it was La Costa Valley, I believe, has a Oktoberfest as well every year. You got to be part of that club. But anyways, if you want a specific community, a specific area, any of this sounds good to you, and you want to dive in a little bit more, you got to reach out. So hit us up. Our info's popping up right now. We got your back when making the move here to San Diego.